What's up, everybody? It's Ryan with Under Inspired Games. I'm here with Richard James Cook. He's been here at PAX South 2015. He had a wonderful panel about his movie Pixel Poetry, and we wanted to take a little time here today and talk with him.
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, thanks you for talking to us. I want to say that your movie is beautiful, and it's what's a good word for it? I don't have
Poignant.
Poignant, yes.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So a couple questions.
Sure.
What do you want the primary takeaway to be for people watching the movie?
So originally when I made the movie, it started out as a games as art debate movie.
Yes.
Because I think we had gotten to that point. I mean, especially with the games as art debate, it was a bit of a tired debate.
Yes.
But I think we are now in this part of our industry's growth to where everything is just changing, and more examples are popping up more and more every day about how games are becoming more legitimate.
Yes.
In the greater public eye. So I wanted to be this cornerstone in that transition because it is a transition, and I think in the next 10 years it's going to change the perspective of games wildly. And so I wanted to kind of be an upfront discussion,
right?
And especially for people who are outside the games industry, might not understand it as well as others, inside. Because of course we can sit there and say, yes, of course what we do is art,
right,
and stuff like that. But it was more for the people outside of the games industry to look into it and say something like, oh, I didn't know games could do that. I've only heard of the Candy Crushes and the Angry Birds and stuff like
right.
that. So it was more for those people to see what games can actually be in terms of their creativity.
Okay. So would you look at it as more of a rather than playing the old debate over and over again, is it time that we can actually just celebrate games as an art form rather than try to affirm them?
Yeah, well, see, I think Adam Sessler, he's in the film, and
yes.
I think what he said at one point was, he slaps his hand down on the desk, he goes, we put the baby to rest, and we have, and, in more ways than one, we have put the baby to rest. It's not a debate anymore on our side, but there are still certain people who want to push the agenda outside.
Right.
I don't know if they're doing it to get votes for themselves and stuff like that, because it's mostly politicians and just really narrowly minded people, in my opinion, anyway. So I don't think there's too much we have to do at this point to defend it, because it's just going to be a natural transition that happens anyway. So I think as long as we just keep educating people about it and what it actually is, and enjoying what we're doing, it's going to change eventually anyway. I think one of the other ones is that Warren Spector, who's in my film. I also study under him at the University of Texas in Austin. So one of his quotes in the film is, eventually all the non-gamers will die.
Yes.
And it sounds terrible to say that, but in a weird way, it's true. And
right.
Everybody's going to be a gamer in the future, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Well, because during your panel, Adam Sessler also mentioned. During your panel, Adam also mentioned that when we're looking at books, when we're looking at traditional art, when we're looking at film, the period of time where they went from being disregarded to regarded as an art form was 100 to hundreds of years.
Oh yeah.
And that
absolutely.
in video games, it's happening in a matter of decades.
Yeah.
So in our time span, we're going from Roger Ebert saying games can never be art to Pixel Poetry coming out today,
sure,
adamantly displaying games as an art form.
Yeah.
So where do you think we will be in, say, even 5 years from now?
Well, again, like I said, I think everybody's going to be a gamer. I mean, in some weird way, even people now who play the Candy Crushes and the Angry Birds, they may not consider themselves a gamer, but I'm sorry, you're a gamer.
Yes.
No matter how you cut it, even if it's not games that we particularly like. I'm not a huge fan of free-to-play, but that's just me. And so it's just a stigma that just needs to go away. And I think very much like film, like you were saying, it took years and years. It was not legitimate at the very beginning. And so we're even going for as far back as opera and stuff like that. It was very outside the realm of a legitimate public society. It was something people went to just to enjoy and entertain themselves. And people just didn't understand it. So I think games, like any other creative medium, are going through that process right now. And we're 50-ish years old now, since, the Ralph Bayers and the Nolan Bushnells, started doing their stuff. I think we are just at that point. And I think the next 10 years, quote me on this, the next 10 years is going to be the absolute biggest change in the terms of games becoming legitimate.
I would agree, especially because for the longest time, I feel like we've been seeking like a sense of validation, especially from Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
We had these video game award shows We have VGX was a nightmare because we have Joel McHale coming and hosting, and it's just such a disconnect. But then we have the Video Game Awards saying the industry can do it ourselves. We don't need to be validated by Hollywood because we're bigger than Hollywood now.
Yeah, and I think another thing of it too is, you know, a lot of people ask me like, oh, what about a famous game developer? So there's no such thing, and it's a weird stigma to say that, but I think it's because things like movies and things like music, you have more FaceTime with the artists. You don't really get that as much with game developers, so I think it helps with the Video Game Awards. Whenever Chuck Keighley, you know, he's putting all that stuff together. We have this like nice legitimate statue now that it looks like a nice legitimate award statue, and we're out doing our own thing, and we're actually showing appreciation for all the stuff we've done in the past. So we are growing in our own industry as well, and I think people will start to notice it. I mean, how can you not notice it when, you know, they're filling out entire stadiums for League of Legends tournaments and things like that? It's hard to say it's not a legitimate medium now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and I would also say that most of what we could consider art is coming out of the independent scene of games.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And as someone who is working as an independent game developer, pardon the cliche, but do you have any words of advice for the young independent developers who are, you know, out there struggling now, who are looking to be in this industry?
Don't make any more zombie games. I mean, well, there's this, you know, with like the Flappy Bird stuff. I cannot even count how many clones of Flappy Bird I saw come out on like some of the indie developer groups that I am on Facebook. But I think it's not even just trying to be like reinvent the wheel or innovation or anything. Just put your mind into it. Try to design it as good as it can possibly be. I don't even really know how to break it down into words really, but I think there's a certain factor where you can say this is actually really interesting, and it doesn't have to be a complex concept or anything like that. You could really make a simple concept very interesting. I mean, like Mythville, you know, Thomas Was Alone.
Yeah,
it's swears, but it's such an interesting game.
It is,
you know?
yeah, absolutely.
So you just have to be able to fit yourself into that that realm of creativity and start thinking about things that people are just going to find interesting. And the indie scene's definitely got that for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no risk being taken there and stuff like that. I mean, of course we have to eat, but like anybody else. But the risk is less on the side of investors and stuff like that, and we're able to just express our creativity. And I think that as long as that continues, it's just going to be something that continually helps the industry and how we're perceived outside.
Absolutely, awesome. And one last thing, do you have anything that you want to say about any of your current game projects, or is it too early in the process?
Well, I'm pitching it this afternoon, so it is a little bit too early in the process, but I am working on a game. Hopefully, I will be working on it with some close partners of mine, so I can't really say anything to that just yet, but yeah, I mean, I'll be working on a game. I probably will end up doing some kind of screenplay by the end of the year, I hope, because I do enjoy movies and making them as well. I might co-author a book.
Oh, wow.
There's a couple of different projects going on. It's mostly just idea stuff right now, but I do have a lot of great friends in the industries that I'm involved with. Hopefully we can make that a reality. I do expect it to be a crazy year one way or another. I graduated from the program, Lawrence Baker's program in May, so that's going to open some doors for me as well. And who knows where else?
It's much deserved. It's been a long time coming for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, of course, I have PixPoetryMovie.com, which is where the film is at, and then you can get the special edition on the 30th, which has got the making of. I'm very proud of the making of. I did a really good job on it, I think. So I hope everybody sees that. And on Twitter, RichardCook1985.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
It's very intuitive in that way. I like that a lot. You mentioned the Egoraptor video as being why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
His sequelitis video for Mega Man was hilarious the first time I saw it, but made more sense every time I watched it after that. So I take it very much to heart that your game should teach its players how to play and not have to hold your hand through it.
Exactly.
So we'll have signs on the wall be like, this is how you jump, but we're never going to make you do that. We're not going to pause the game.
Right.
Just play it.